It's great to be involved and committed to something that's bigger than yourself. But how do you avoid it becoming just a box to check off instead of something you really enjoy? And how do you push yourself to get out of your comfort zone and find where you best fit? Let's find out. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Scene in STEAM. My guest today is Madison Thomas. Madison, thank you so much for coming to The Scene in STEAM. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm glad to be here, Jade.
So, Madison, I had to have you because ever since I met you, since freshman year, you've always been involved in a club. You've always been involved in leadership. If you're not doing an event, you're going to a conference, and you're just always involved. So, what motivates you to take on these leadership roles, and how do you navigate life once you're in them?
Honestly, Jay, the thing that motivates me the most is the challenge of the leadership role because I don't know about anybody else, but like if I'm doing something and something's just like really easy, it's not really piquing my interest. It's not gonna keep me very long, but if it's something that's gonna make me rethink and make me like think critically and like really just get into it, I'm always up for it. So I like the challenge, which is why I will go for jumping into a leadership role. But the crazy thing is that I also hate the responsibility of like getting myself up to go do something because of that like pressure of like, is it gonna be great? Like, am I actually gonna do what people are expecting of me? So I find myself in a weird position because I like spring at the idea of the challenge and then later on I'm like, oh, what did I do? But at that time, it's like I can quickly get over that because I'll get into it and it'll get really, really fun. And then I start seeing like the impact that my impulsivity has created on other people. So when I do jump into it and I actually begin to love it, it's like now I have to get more of it. It almost becomes like that thing that I have, you know? So it's a good thing though. It's a good
Absolutely.
thing.
So, you know, you were talking about how you do a lot, and sometimes it's tough because you have so many ideas, but, you know, it ends up working out in the end. And I feel like in STEM, we're pushed a lot to be involved and be leaders and take on leadership roles and show that we can do this because in the fields that we're wanting to go into, it's a big part of the job. Do you think it should be as emphasized as it is, and we should be pushing ourselves so much to be involved in so many things and be leaders in so many things?
I actually do because being involved in leadership, like being the forefront of an organization, causes you to be out of your comfort zone literally all the time. And I think that's very important as far as like STEAM is concerned, especially for like pre-meds. You're going to be a doctor. I don't think there's really a day where you're gonna come in and always be comfortable. There's always gonna be some sort of situation where you have to be able to step out and, you know, do the thing that's really kind of, you know, holding you back a little bit. So I think for me, each time I'm in some different form of leadership responsibility, it causes me to actually have to forego that, yeah, that sense of comfort because I have to meet my expectations, or I have to meet some type of, or I have to do the role that I came out to do. So it's like, for example, before becoming a leader and basically all the things I'm doing, I would have a really hard time with public speaking. Like to a point where I just, every time it came up, I was running from it because like my hands are sweaty, I hate it. Everybody doesn't like public speaking. I don't think there's people, especially like college students, don't love public speaking. But because I've had to do it so often, I've learned how to overcome those feelings of like anxiety and those feelings like I can't do this, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's really important for me, or really important for anybody really in STEAM, because there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to psych yourself out of doing something that you could like, that really could take you to the next level. So I'm thinking, what I'm really trying to say is, for me, my leadership roles have not actually made those feelings go away, but it's taught me how to overcome those feelings so that like, even when they do come, I can see them and still like move around them because I know I still have to get what I have to get done, you know? So I think it'd be really important for people to be able to learn themselves in those situations so that they can have the tools to be able to overcome those. Because those feelings really just don't go away. But if you have the experience, you know how to, you know, deal with them better.
Right. So what gave you that initial push to, you know, want to get outside of your comfort zone? Because you said you originally that's not your go-to, or that's not how you are innately.
Honestly, the first time I was at an officers meeting and they needed an officer, I was literally sitting in my chair telling myself the whole meeting, like, I'm not gonna do this. That's so crazy. Like, I would be, you know, having an actual responsibility. People would expect things from me. That's just not gonna happen. And the thing that really shot myself in the foot was literal impulsivity. Like, I stood up and was like, I'll do it. Like, I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, what did you just do? But at the same time, I will continuously thank myself for that moment because now you see, you know, all of the benefits later on. But if you sit stuck in those moments all the time, you'll never, if you don't take risk, you'll never reap the reward.
Oh, I feel that.
So that's pretty much what it was. It was like, let's just do it. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens.
That's awesome because I don't know you as like the person who won't say something, you know. Now I'm just like, of course you did that. You're from Madison. Like, so that's so interesting that, you know, that wasn't your, that's not how you always were. But that's awesome. And I think it definitely is good to do things when you're not always sure about them, and when you're just a little bit afraid. That's when you kind of know that you're doing the right thing. But you know, you were saying that you do a lot. You're currently president of MAPS, or you're currently the president of OBMA, our Biomedical Association here. You used to be the president of MAPS, and you know, you were always doing something. You're always planning something. So what do you do when you feel overextended or like you've taken on too much?
Honestly, I feel overextended all the time. Like, collectively in my head, when I start playing out everything I have to do, I'm like, wow, this is so much. But what I find works best for me is to just take things one step at a time. Because if I'm looking at everything as a whole, it's gonna overwhelm me every time. And I'm not gonna do it because I'm either fearful that I won't do it right, I'm fearful that I'll forget something. Like, it's that fear that's really just eating at me. But if I just literally just start into something, one thing, if I can complete one thing, then I can do everything. So after I start like kind of almost planning out what I have to do, when I have a calendar, it's extremely helpful to help yourself not overextend. So like now what I've recently been doing, especially with like, you know, people who want to come speak, guest speakers, or like anything else I have to plan, I will hold off someone. Let me check my schedule, and then I can see if I can fit you in. If not, I can give you a better date. Like, it's like just being mindful that at some point you're gonna have to make time for yourself. Like making that not optional. Like putting that at the top of your schedule or putting that on your schedule first. Make time for you. That's the best way to do it, because if you are respecting yourself enough, you won't cross that boundary to give somebody that alone time, that, you know, self-care time that you give to yourself. So then you're like more strict on your boundaries, and you can focus on like caring for yourself at the same time as caring for all your responsibilities. That way, like when you're looking at everything, you did actually get everything that you wanted to get accomplished. And at the same time, at the end, you're not feeling burnt out or like everyone's taking from you and you're just left with nothing on your plate. Because a lot of times I would battle that, especially like sophomore year when I was having, everybody was having like that sophomore year struggle, literally suffer more. That's what they should call it, suffer more year. But in that year, I was really just thinking, because I feel so overwhelmed, because I feel like everybody needs something from me, I'm going to shut down for a couple of hours and literally make myself unavailable so that like I can recharge and be able to give, the me that people need all the time, because people don't necessarily think about what they're doing when they're always asking you for something. You're always giving, 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 and then you feel like you're empty. So instead, you have to pour into yourself first so you can give to other people.
Absolutely. And one thing I feel like is really important in giving to yourself is delegation, especially when you're the leader. I know you've told me that it's sometimes hard for you to delegate. And I understand that because, when you're a perfectionist, when you want something done right, it's like, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
But do you think, delegation, getting better at delegation is like a prime aspect of taking time for yourself or making sure, you're not trying to do everything?
I think delegation is an extremely important tool as a leader. Like, you have to be able to, if you're going to give somebody a job, you have to give yourself you have to basically tell yourself, like, okay, what you're going to do is you're now going to sit down and let them do it. It would be like talking in circles if I asked you to do something and then 5 minutes later I did it myself and told you not to do it. Like,
right.
That would be frustrating for me as the officer to have received that direction and then you did it like I wasn't going to do it. And I don't want to make them feel like I'm trying to take their job or things like that. So it's just, you have to almost unwind a little bit and relax. Like, don't be so tightly wound. Like, if they are taking a couple hours, just, slightly remind them, make them, aware of the accountability, aware of their, deadline, things like that. But once you have a good team, somebody you can really rely on, you don't really have those questions anymore. You don't have those questions anymore about whether or not it's going to get done. You just have the faith that they're going to do it, and you guys are all going to collectively be working for the good of your team.
Yeah. So what do you do when, maybe your team isn't working at their best, or you see, some people aren't doing their selected task? Is it hard for you to, remind them, like, hey, remember you said you were going to do this? Or, what do you do when those kind of situations come up?
What I find is the best approach to that for me, instead of becoming a little passive aggressive, because it's really easy for you to get upset a little bit. So I try to take my emotion out and understand the behaviors of us as students and the intention of what they, felt like they could have done when they told me they could do it, So I try to take all of that into account and douse that emotion so I can go back into being able to get our tasks done. So after I can calm down the emotion, I can ask them, like, would you like me to help you? Did you need somebody else to help you? Should I ask someone else to help you, type situation, so that we can still be, having that teamwork aspect and not make it feel like, you're just not doing anything, so I'm gonna do it. Not make people feel slighted, because, you still wanna make people feel like they're doing something as well, contributing to the team. I know personally I hate that when someone will ask me to do something and then do it because I'm not, doing it in a timely manner, or I'm taking too long, things like that. So I find that if I can put myself in the situation of the person I'm speaking to and basically understand what they were going through when they were trying to accomplish what I asked, then I can better, attack the situation with like a game plan rather than pure emotion, like I'm upset because you weren't doing blah, 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 blah. Then I can be like, okay, how can I help? How can the team help you? How can we assist each other? So that, again, builds that team aspect so that you're not moving as one person, because there's no I in team. So you have to move like collectively, and that again adds more respect from the other people on your team, because they're seeing that you're a good leader, somebody, I think personally a good leader is somebody who can like step down from their, positioner, whatever, and, get in with the team and actually help out so that we can all move together, rather than like, shaking your finger at them and just making them feel like they're just not doing anything.
Absolutely. Well, Madison, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Jade. It's been fantastic. This is really making me feel like Oprah,
Wow, that's amazing. That's all I ever want for you guys.
Yes.
I know you're going to do amazing things. I can't wait to see what huge organization you're leading in, give or take a few years. Thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, don't be afraid to get involved.